Years ago, the economic picture around here was quite bad. It started, of course, with the demise of the coal industry. The coal industry suffered from lack of demand, and our economy in the Hazleton area, of course, reflected that of the entire anthracite coal area. We were a one-industry town, basically, although we had some other smaller industries here. When the coal industry died, we were in big trouble. Our male unemployment rate got as high as approximately 25%. So we needed something done, and something dramatically done, that would reverse these sinking economies. I was president of the Greater Hazleton Chamber of Commerce from 1953 to 1956. And it was during that time that we tried our best to attract industries. And we, of course, were telling everybody that this was the greatest place to live. Same thing every other community told prospects. But we found out very quickly that we needed something more than sales talk. We needed money. And it was during that time that I had this concept of raising money and starting an industrial development organization. One very prominent banker in town from one of the larger banks just was extremely pessimistic about this whole concept. He just said flatly, "You can't do it. You can't do it." And of course, those words rang in my ears. That night I couldn't sleep because those words were there, "You can't do it." So that was the night that I decided to name the organization Can Do. And that's how it got its name. We weren't able to fit the words into the acronym until weeks later, and then we became Community Area New Development Organization. But that took a while to evolve. We had this concept of trying to get everybody involved in the fundraising. It was going to be two-pronged. One prong was cash donations. The other prong was bond sales. The first thing we did was have a dime-a-week program, and this was to collect dimes, $5.20 a year for those who would sign up for that much. We had pails around marked Operation Jobs, or dime a week, to collect dimes from people. They were passed around at basketball games and anywhere where there were groups of people. We also had a mile of dimes on Broad Street where we actually ran a tape down the sidewalks and put dimes next to each other. That was not too successful because we were rained out, but we did collect some that way. And we ended up collecting something like $16,000 in dimes. Now that may not sound tremendous, but it was tremendous to us. It was actually the money we used to buy the land for our first industrial park. We had 550 acres, Valmont Industrial Park. We had a rail siding, and we had a lot of strippings we had to fill in, but we had our first land. And that was the beginning of our industrial development. The service clubs worked very hard at all hours. Every night they would come to my home with all of their results, and we would release these figures to the newspapers and on the radio. We maintained a steady flow of reports so that the totals would rise every day. By the time the end of the third week had arrived, we had exceeded the $500,000 goal. We said we had reached our goal and gone over it, and we were very proud and very happy. And because of the great amount of interest that we had aroused, we were going to extend the drive one more week. And we got something like $735,000 by the time the drive was over. And this, of course, was a stunning success. We then did something else that was brand new. We built a shell building. This was a concept that wasn't entirely original, but it was a very new concept. And the idea being to build a building without a couple of walls so it could be expanded, but build a shell that could be rapidly expanded so we'd have merchandise on the shelf. So we built the shell, and it wasn't too long before the first industry came along, General Foam Corporation. General Foam was not a very strong organization financially, but either were we. So they decided to take a chance with us, and we took a chance with them. And they went in there as our first industry, and they employed as many as 500, 600 people over a period of time. Not only did we have shell buildings to offer, but we had merchandise on the shelves to show industries, and they would come, and perhaps the shell was not to their liking, but we had them there then, and we could sell them on building their own building with PITA financing, which we did many a time. So industries started to pile in one after another. As we went on, we had to expand other things, our water supply, our roads, our everything. This was a huge endeavor. We then began to run out of money. We had a lot of other expenses. We had to build a water system. We had a sewage system. We had all kinds of infrastructure. We had to get roads built. We needed more money. In 1959, 3 years after the initial drive, we decided to have another one. What a disturbing thought for everybody, including me. And we decided to do it exactly the same way. So this time we offered a naming of streets. Whoever raised the most amount of money got the first choice of a street. That's why we have Kiwanis Drive, Rotary Drive, and so forth. This is the way the streets got their names. We got write-ups in such prestigious places as Time magazine, a whole page, Fortune magazine, New York Times, countless hundreds others, because they all came around to see what was done. We even were named All-America City, which was probably the biggest thing that ever did occur to us. That's when all the luminaries were present, from the governor on down and representatives of the federal government, when we celebrated the All-America City Award. We had to appear before the All-America City jury in San Francisco, and we presented our case, and we were named #1 and won the All-America City Award, which was a very dramatic thing and very good for our publicity and our attempts to get further industry. I've had the great pleasure of working intimately with Joe Yenchko, who was the first employee of Can-Do and one of the greatest employees anybody could ever have. He's an all-around everything. And then how we hit the jackpot twice, I don't know, but we did. We got Kevin O'Donnell. I don't believe that Kevin, as I recall, knew what Can-Do was when he was first interviewed. He said, "Well, what is Can-Do?" He has certainly learned what it is. As a matter of fact, he's become a spectacular success, and I can't believe that lightning could strike this way, that we could have only two in our history, Joe Yenchko and Kevin O'Donnell, and both of them exceed all the superlatives that I can dream up.